Hey, this is my very first video on WeReadBooks, obviously. So I thought I might as well introduce myself before I begin. My name is Billy. I live near Washington, D.C. in the United States. I am 21 years old, and I know, I don't look like 21, eh? Everybody thinks I'm 15. And looking young really is terrible, especially when you try to do stuff that most 15-year-olds should not be doing. Anyways, I've always been a book reader ever since I was a little kid, and nowadays I just can't go a day without at least a bit of reading. And well, I'm good friends with Kaisa, and one day she showed me a video of her reviewing on this channel. I checked out a bunch of other videos and thought, hey, I'm liking it, and that's how I ended up being a member. So, if you're watching this, Kaisa, I'm watching you back. And I'm sure that's more than enough about myself, eh? Alright, on the business. The theme for these 2 months is about our 5 favorite books or authors, so I'm going to talk about my favorites. And it wasn't easy to pick only 5 from the list of favorites I have, but I think I picked 5 good ones. The first one is my absolute favorite, and it is Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. And yes, I'm very much aware that some people like Obama, some people dislike Obama, some people don't care about Obama, and some people don't even know about Obama. Well, if you really don't know who Barack Obama is, I don't know, man, you should read some newspaper. But really, politics is a very minor part of this book. It focuses more on race relations, mostly in America, and the society around it. This book is a memoir of Barack's life up until his marriage on 1992, and that's about 18 years ago from now. So Barack back then was very different from the same guy we know now. Anybody who knows at least a little about this guy would know his story even without reading. He was a biracial of a father from Africa and a white mother from the United States, but his parents were divorced soon after he was born. He was raised in Hawaii by his mother and white grandparents. And as he was growing up, he began to realize that he was so much different from everybody else, even his name. For years, he struggled to find the answer for his identity and finally finds it towards the end of the book when he visits his father's native country, Kenya. I'm sure very few people have the story like Obama's, and there's no way any of us can really walk in Obama's shoes. But as an Asian American, I think I can relate to him pretty close. I also had times when I really didn't understand myself. Even others could understand me. I mean, I still have a bit of accent left, eh? Obama himself mentioned that he thinks he doesn't have enough talents to have a successful career as a writer. But I don't know why he said it. Unlike most memoirs and autobiographies, which can be a little bit plain and boring, this book really pulls you in. It almost feels like reading a well-written novel, with all the coherent plot and climax and everything. One thing I respectfully disagree with him though is that I think he sometimes forgets that he's still half white. As an Asian American, I have found a fine balance between being both an Asian and an American. But in the book, he emphasizes quite a bit about his identity as an African American, but rarely talks about his white side. And well, if he calls himself an African American because his father was an African and his mother was an American, I guess he's right, right? Also, as I've mentioned before, this book has very little to do with his views on politics, or politics in general. What makes this book different from most other politicians' memoirs is that other politicians usually write their books after they have achieved something or have gained lots of attention from the public. But Barack Obama wrote this before he even started his political career, so it will be very refreshing if you're expecting the same old stuff written by other politicians. It's not like he wrote it back in 2008, you know? And to those who didn't know, Obama's popularity a couple of years ago was comparable to the popularity of Taylor Swift nowadays. Well, not that I'm comparing Barack Obama to Taylor Swift, of course. I mean, one is an absolutely beautiful girl with sparkly eyes and lovely voice, and the other one is Taylor Swift. But yes, bottom line is definitely read this book if you haven't. It'll make you think, it'll inspire you. And regardless of your political beliefs, it's hard to not like the guy by the time you finish the book. Alright, let's move through. The second book on the list is Every Man Dies Alone by Falada. It's written by a German author. It's about a German civilian couple during World War II who decided to stand up against Nazis. It's a fiction strongly based on the true story. I'm a big history buff, so I knew I had to pick this one. And not only that, Germany is definitely my favorite European country too. I've traveled across there before, and a couple of my friends are actually Germans. I love it. The music, the food, the language, and of course the girls. Yeah, it's definitely worth reading. Much better than your average historical fictions. The third one is great. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of the author at very least. It's Insomnia by Stephen King. This is a classic horror / fantasy from Stephen King. There are many different opinions about this book, but I obviously think it's definitely one of the best written by him. It's about an old man who starts to lose sleep after the death of his wife, and as his insomnia gets worse, he starts to see strange things around people and himself. And I've been reading this book for a 5th time lately, and I'm still enjoying it. Anyways, if you like Stephen King and haven't read it yet, put it on your shopping list. The fourth one is, well, I'm afraid that it will bore the crap out of most of you. It's a biography of Julius Caesar by Adrian Goldsworthy. Yes, Caesar is that crazy Roman guy that you learned from history class. Unlike Obama's memoir, it doesn't have any special twist in the plot or anything. It's very straightforward with tons of details that you couldn't find from most other history books. As I've said, I'm a big history buff, and Julius Caesar is my all-time favorite figure from any era of human history. It's very well written too. Adrian Goldsworthy is one of the best authors when it comes to ancient Roman history. Oh, by the way, Kyle, I loved your last review of the book Rubicon with your Roman friend. Cheers, Lucius Renus, eh? Well, it will bore you if you really are not into this kind of stuff, but hey, I like it. And last but not least, here is the 5th one. The Lord of the Rings by... I don't know how to say his name. This is the godfather book of modern fantasy literature, no question about that. And I'm sure most of you have seen the film too. But you know, if you think you know the whole storyline of the book just because you have seen the film, I've gotta tell you, the film version has altered many scenes, or don't even mention some of my favorite scenes from the book version. And I think not enough people appreciate The Lord of the Rings. When I ask people about their favorite fantasy book, they usually tell me Harry Potter or Twilight. I agree that those two are fantastic, but this masterpiece is so much better. No contest. Take that, Kaisa, and the rest of you fangirls. Is there any Lord of the Rings fangirls? Hey, I thought ladies were crazy about that Legolas guy, and Gandalf is pretty hot for his age too. Oh, stop it, Billy. I'm sorry. I tried to be like that Gollum guy, but I think I failed, huh? But yeah, I mean, even he's pretty cute, eh? Come on, girls, give Lord of the Rings the proper love that they deserve. That's what I want to say. But yeah, grab it, read it, and be happy, like I am with this book. Well, that's it for now. I think I was a little sloppy, but oh well, it's my first video. I'm sure I got better. See you later, guys. Yeah, this is my... This book has very little to do with... Also, I've traveled across there. This is the godfather of modern fantasy literature. I'm sorry.